I've never believed in ghosts, not really. I used to laugh at those who claimed they'd seen spirits or heard whispers in the dark. I was logical, rooted in reality, grounded in science. But all that changed last summer when I took a temporary groundskeeping job at Sycamore Hollow Cemetery in Pennsylvania. I needed the money. My lease was up, jobs were scarce, and this one offered quiet solitude and a decent paycheck. It was supposed to be easy. Mowing lawns, trimming hedges, maybe the occasional squirrel cleanup. No late shifts, no people. Just me, nature, and rows of forgotten names carved into stone. The cemetery sat on the edge of a small rural town, surrounded by thick woods that grew darker than they had any right to be. It was old, founded in the early 1800s, and locals whispered it was cursed. The woman who hired me, an elderly caretaker named Mrs. Whitmore, gave me a cold smile when I asked about the rumors. "People always talk," she said, "but the dead can't hurt you." I wish she'd been right. My first week passed without incident. The sun was hot, the work was repetitive, and the gravestones loomed like crooked teeth. I kept to myself, wore headphones, and ignored the strange feeling I sometimes got when walking past certain areas, like something was watching me from beneath the soil. It started small. One morning, I noticed a fresh bouquet of lilies at a grave I'd seen untouched the day before. The stone was nearly eroded, the name illegible. No one came to that part of the cemetery, not unless they were looking for trouble. I assumed someone had come early, maybe a distant descendant, though I'd never seen another soul in the cemetery since I started. That night, I couldn't sleep. My dreams were full of dirt and roots, and something clawing its way up from under the ground. I woke up drenched in sweat. The image of cracked fingernails scratching at a coffin lid burned into my mind. By the second week, things escalated. Tools went missing. My mower, which I always left in the shed, was dragged out one night and left near that same old grave. I found deep gouge marks in the dirt, as if someone had been digging. But there was no sign of a shovel, no footprints, nothing. Still, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a fox, maybe some kids messing around. I didn't want to believe the alternative, that something dead was trying to get out. It was a Tuesday when I finally saw it. I just finished trimming the edges near the back wall and decided to take a break under the massive sycamore tree that gave the cemetery its name. I sat in the shade, sipping lukewarm water, when I saw movement near the forgotten grave. At first, it looked like a shadow, just a flicker, but then it rose. It was a woman. Pale, almost translucent, with long dark hair that moved in the wind, though the air was still. Her dress was old, tattered, and soaked in dirt. She stood motionless, her head tilted as if listening. Then she turned her face toward me. I froze. Her eyes were empty sockets. Her mouth opened slowly, and though I was too far to hear anything, I swear I could feel her voice inside my skull. A low hum, like the distant sound of bees behind a wall. Then she was gone. Just like that. I left early that day, made up an excuse, and drove straight home. But I couldn't shake the image. I tried to convince myself I was dehydrated, hallucinating, sleep-deprived. But the more I denied it, the worse it got. Over the next few days, I started hearing things. Soft whispers when I was trimming the hedges, a faint humming that followed me from plot to plot. The flowers kept appearing, always at the same grave. And the digging, it got worse. One morning I found an actual hole, about 3 feet deep, freshly dug. No shovel, no tracks. Just that hole, and something wet and red at the bottom. I refused to get any closer. Mrs. Whitmore didn't seem surprised when I told her. "It's the girl," she said, lighting a cigarette with shaky hands. "Buried alive, 1847. Her name was Margaret Thorne. They thought she died of fever, but it was catalepsy. A deep trance. She woke up in the coffin and, well, you can imagine, scratched her fingers to the bone before she suffocated. Her screams haunted the church for years. People say if you hear the humming, she's near. I wanted to quit right then and there, but I needed the money. One more week, I told myself. Just one more. The final straw came on a Friday evening. I was staying late, trying to finish clearing a fallen branch that had crushed part of the old fence. The sun had set, and I was packing up when I heard the sound of someone breathing behind me. Not just a breath, ragged, gasping, desperate. I spun around and she was there. Margaret. No longer just a ghostly figure. She was solid now, tangible. Her fingernails were broken and black, her dress torn, face pale with blood dripping from her nose. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Just that awful hum filling the air like pressure in my ears. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I felt like the air had turned to ice. My limbs locked. Then she lunged. I don't remember screaming, but my throat was raw the next morning. I woke up outside the cemetery gates, covered in dirt. My keys were gone. My truck was still in the lot, and my back had 4 long scratches down it, deep enough to scar. I quit that day. Mrs. Whitmore didn't ask why. She just handed me my final check and said, "She gets in your head. That's how she survives." I moved away 2 weeks later, left the state, changed my number, tried to forget. But some nights, I still hear that hum, especially when it rains. Last month, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a single photograph, black and white, of a grave under a sycamore tree. Fresh lilies rested on the stone. On the back was scrawled, "She remembers you."